I start all these streams, see how many TikTok community guideline violations we can get, and welcome. And first, and five, four, three, two, one. Let's get it.
Conversations with TNathan delves into the stories of activists, scholars, and everyday heroes who have fought to continue the fight for justice, equality, and liberation. Not only will he educate and inform, but also empowers listeners to become active participants in the ongoing fight for justice. Every night at 11 Eastern on the GCPR network.
Yeah, y'all know what time it is. Y'all know what time it is. Y'all see that mug? It's that time. It is 10 o'clock. Um, it's 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 11 o'clock Eastern Time, and I am on time as always. As a matter of fact, might be a few minutes early tonight. Set your clock by that time. Um, welcome. I am T Nathan, and this is Conversations with T Nathan. So that means if you're listening to me, we're eye to eye, you're at the right place. This is Conversations with T Nathan. How are you all doing? How's everybody doing? Greetings and salutations. Welcome. Welcome to the Tuesday edition. Tuesday edition, August the 5th, the second year anniversary of the Montgomery Brawl. Yes, we couldn't have picked a better month than August. This is the 2 year anniversary, and August 5th, 2023. That hat went up and it was on. Yes, the liberation of Montgomery River. I just posted a video. Um, posted a video in celebration of the anniversary of the Montgomery Brawl, and it's all my video. Yeah, because when I can't go to Alabama. I went to Alabama earlier this year for the 60th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, and we took a detour down to Montgomery to visit the Lynching Museum. I know people don't like it when I call Lynching Museum. And we went to the riverfront and took some video that I decided to share with you on the second year anniversary. So check that out if you want to see. Raven, your voice is in my video because Raven, they went with us. They were down there with us. We were at the Montgomery riverfront, and you can hear Raven in the background of the video because we were trying to get the man, the president. Was he the captain or is he the captain of the ship now? I didn't remember what his title were, but we were talking to him also. That's because you want to drive to Mount Bayou for the listen, listen. Yes, it's interesting that you mentioned that, Raven, because I was talking to Ro and we're planning a meal for those that be homeless in St. Louis, and I volunteered you. So I'll let you know when. I mean, St. Louis is closer than driving down the Mississippi, right? So yeah, I was putting together a list of people that wanted to go to St. Louis and pass out meals for those who happen to be homeless. And you were on the list. Yeah, I think so too, because they were just docking, they were just tying it off when we got there. So yeah, and I do want to go back down. Also, I already signed up for St. Louis. Yeah, I know, but we're getting in the phase like, okay, Cash App, you all. Let's Cash App. You're gonna hear it later because we got the bill for those that be homeless this week, and we're going to. We still in need of supplies. I need some more supplies for my students because my credit card is tied up with a hospital bill right now. So also a report on Jamie. Jamie, he's woke and he's comfortable. He's comfortable for you all of that care. Yes, he's comfortable. He's not going to get thrown out the hospital anytime soon. But like I said, the nurse said they don't expect him to make it the rest of the week. So I just want to let you all know that he is comfortable. We're doing everything we can. But that also means my credit card is not able to buy any school supplies. So it is what it is, but we'll make do. We'll work it out. But Yeah, that's our mission. We're planning to go to St. Louis sometime in the next 6 weeks. We're gonna work it out. And we're not Raven. You know what I mean when I say that. It's only gonna be certain of us. Yeah, we're not going to have a repeat of some of our past escapades because we're not taking anybody who's going to be more enamored with chasing people and helping us beat those who have to be homeless. Oh no, no problem, Amy. No problem. Just let them know if they can do shipping. I can send. I can't do shipping. $260 in shipping. I could, I would think, but I can't do it right now because we got to get this meal. You know, I'm gonna do what I say I was gonna do, even if I have to hire boosters to do it, because we're gonna do the meal for those who are homeless. We're gonna participate in that. We're going to get these school supplies by any means necessary. You know, I don't care. Just call me what you want to. We're gonna do it. I figured y'all can raise $396,000 for a bus. I got um, I got some shiesties that Raven made for me too. We do have shiesties. Don't ever. Can you all see the comments like this? Do I need to move? Do you do? Can you? Because I can see the comments well. Can you all see the comments with that promo in the way, or do I need to move it? Do I need to do I need to move the promo or is it good? Okay, comments are good. We good. Jay, go check out the other location. No problem, Reese. No, no, we do what we have to. Yeah. Shiesty. Yeah. Yeah. SHIETESRS Shiesties. Yes. Yeah, it has been. It's been a rough month or two, I know, and we are doing what we have to do. But we'll figure out a way. Listen, we'll figure out a way. We'll figure out a way. I don't know. I haven't. I might have to adjust what we serve, but we will serve something. We will serve something, and we will get everybody served. Luckily, it's the warm months, so I'm not stressing about putting people up for hotels for the cold months. Not stressing for that. And now with the new executive order, it's like we just can't get a break. All right, yeah, no problem. No, listen, this is again, we're gonna do it because it has to be done, and I have not failed yet, so I refuse to fail now. Whatever we have to do, we're going to do. Like I say, we have um, usually like one thing about September football season. We'll get a certain amount of food donated from a certain amount of NFL team that wants to seem like they've been here all year. But I digress. I can't even say anything negative about it because don't want them to get mad and not donate something next month. So it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, sound is good. All right, just checking because you know how they get. Now, recap. I want to get back into. We got the what we on episode four. We're on episode four of Katrina, talking about Katrina. We got two more nights of that. I know we took the night off last night to talk about gerrymandering. And I was wondering if y'all had any more questions about gerrymandering or any of that before we started, or what's unfolding in Texas. What's unfolding in Texas. Um, and let me get this. Listen, listen. It's kind of catch 22. It's kind of catch 22. We do understand um, football season. It's Halloween season. Yes, what I give to my cause is important to me. So not being able to truth bothers me. I feel you. I feel you. It's like we do, but it's gonna get. Y'all know me. It's gonna get done. It's gonna get done. It's gonna get done. If I have to rob Peter to pay Paul, it is going to get done. Um, I'm not gonna let especially the students and those who have been homeless. We're going to because they need to have that faith and belief that there are people who care, and we're going to show them. I'm going to make sure they have. So, like I say, if it's boosters, then it's boosters. I don't care. It won't be the first time. So that's what it is. That's what it is. I, who sent me a message? Does it come with a caveat? I have to look at the messages and make sure they say don't read out loud. That's a Jay Chesney. Don't read this message out loud. And I was like, that needs to be the first line on the message y'all send me during the show. Yeah. Do you see Vance coming to Indiana? Yes, yes. I see that. Uh, how are warrants able to issue for government officials in Texas? You can't issue a civil warrant. Listen, this is all grandstanding. We have seen we've seen this whole thing play out in 2021. Texas is not the only state to do for a quorum not to be reached. We had it in Ohio. We've had it in Oklahoma. We've had it in Oregon. You know, here's what it is. Yeah, I know, Jay. Yeah, yeah. Get you some rest. Don't worry about it. Get you some rest. Um, no problem. No problem. Hey, the live is not eligible for recommendation. Yeah, how does that even work? How does that work? I have I even said anything about another destination? But well, anyway, I guess gerrymandering is gerrymandering. Like I say, and this is the thing. Less than 10 minutes, and I already got the violation. And here's the thing, right? It's not just gerrymandering is being used by one side. It's both sides. And that's what I explained last night. But it's allowed to happen because Democrats have never codified it when they had the ability to, because they always want to withdraw. They always want to withdraw or reject. But I'm a firm believer. All this moral high ground people are taking, fuck that. Gerrymander, go ahead. Go ahead. California, redistrict. Go ahead. Texas wants to start this in the middle of a gerrymandering season. Alabama, Louisiana, and Mississippi gerrymander every 2 years. That's why they always in front of the Supreme Court. You know, this is why I tell you, you all know my stance on democracy and where it actually stands for. But at the end of the day, y'all keep saying, we want to do this, we want to do this. I'm live right now, Ray. I'm not reading all your MAGA text. Listen, Gracie, we need to fight fire with napalm. Listen, it's at the end of the day, it does matter your position. People were talking about, I don't want to use the weapons of white supremacy again. Let me tell you something. Drop a weapon if you want to. I'm not going to be like in the horror movie where you're running and the killer or the drops their weapon and you be like, oh, there are too many lives on that weapon. I can't pick it up and use it. I'm gonna listen. I'll pick up Jason's mask, his machete, and go to work. I might even forget I'm not Jason for a little while. But at the end of the day, as long as we take these tepid approaches to dealing with racism and bigotry by this moral high ground purity test, we're gonna continue to fail. We're going to continue to fail. That is the bottom line. That is the truism. So they're right because the rule book was written by the oppressor. The rule book is written by the oppressor to benefit the oppressor. They keep us playing in these things. They always got us saying like, we just this is a noble cause. And listen, you can call the fight for liberation anything you want to, but just don't call it a loss. Yeah, just don't call it a loss. I'm just tired. I'm tired. I told you, I'm not the big person. Because the bigger people are always getting beat up. I actually say in a tweet, it's clobbering. What's up, Penelope? You said in a tweet. That's diabolical. That's diabolical. I don't see how. a fight is one standing outside the ring, speaking up and cussing. All right. I need to be in the ring. I'm cussing you out, throwing blows in the ring. That's why I tell you all. That's why I know a lot of people don't like me as far as, my activism and my revolutionaryism. Because at the end of the day, I don't know. I will not take off the table your annihilation. I will not. I will not take violence off the table. I will not take all of that off the table because at the end of the day, we continue to get what we always got when we show that we're not willing to fight for real. Yeah, all these antics. I like talking for 25 hours. That's good. Motivational, I guess, inspirational. But what did you do the next day? You got black women like Jasmine out here by themselves. We're fighting on news stations, you know, fighting against panels of people. See, I can't do the panel thing because I will go to blows. Because the first time you raised your voice at me on a panel or tried to overtalk me about something that you don't know anything about, it would turn into an MMA match. And I like to see if you can fight. Yeah, I like to see people fight. I'm gonna make the Montgomery Brawl look like a day in the park because I'm gonna slap you so hard. But you know what it does? You say, "Oh, you can't just be responding with violence." Where were you all at for 400 years of violence? Where were you all at with the same? Well, you can't use violence to beat your slaves. You can't use violence against those who are fighting that protesting peacefully for their civil rights, and you're turning dogs on their children. Where were y'all at then? Where were y'all when they bombed Operation Move? And that wasn't even the 60s. That's the 80s, 1985. Where were y'all at this with this non-violent approach? Yeah, shut the fuck up. Don't talk to me. Waste time. I'm petty. I'm a Leo. When they go low, listen. When they go low, I be looking up at them like y'all. This is what y'all call low. No, I'm gonna tell you. I tell you, grimy. Call me what you want. This is grimy. That's what we are, and that's what I'm about. So yeah, moderators, when you'll see new people come in, get 'em on the bill, do something, get 'em on that. Okay, I'm down for St. Louis. You already know. Just got to plan ahead. Have things going. I figure it's closer. Right? We're gonna plan. First, we're gonna establish. I'm making contact with some people on the ground there. Ro is from there, so we're gonna make there's some people there that are doing something for those having homeless. We're gonna have to do it on the weekend. We're gonna have to we're gonna have to do 2 days. It's gonna be a little larger than Albuquerque because we're gonna have to do 2 days because if the breakdown is like I think we're gonna have to go out 2 days because we plan to do like 150, 200 a day, and you know how that goes. But I know no St. Louis for me, live there, and some bad juju for me. No one. Yeah, and it's all on board. We can connect people that we know with other people that are already on the ground and do the work. And maybe this is what we always planned. So we got sidetracked after Albuquerque. So yeah, it's time for us to get back out there and inspire others in their communities to do the same. We will figure out. Listen, that's what I love about Raven. We just plan it. We don't whatever it costs, we'll figure it out as we'll be on the way. It was like, what we gotta do? We'll figure it out when we get there. Because at the end of the day, if you're down for it or not, help those who need not for a bus. Yeah, yeah. I have a friend that works for HRC, and they're all okay. Yeah, we get we want to really reach out to those areas, like we did with the people that don't make it to the shelter. So we got to find those in camp. I like camps. I like to in St. Louis the same way, especially since the storm. We got to get in there and help people. We'll talk about the dates. Let's see. I would like to get down there before it gets too cold. So sometimes in the next 6 weeks, perhaps, if I have to. 6 weeks. Y'all know me. It's like we'll take 2 weeks of planning and then 4 weeks to lock it in. Yeah, yeah, we'll do that. And I still, you know, I still have an auction. I need to auction these dolls off, but I don't even know how to go about it in a way that would be because I tried it before, and I guess nobody wants black dolls. Nobody wants black dolls. We didn't get raffles. I don't. I don't know. I need to. I need to get with some of these grifters and see how they do it. How they do it. Yeah, how do they do it? So we're gonna have a grifter convention. What about doing it on eBay? Because it costs you the profit from eBay for these dolls is not. It shouldn't, Gracie. Let's be realistic. It shouldn't be that hard to auction off a doll. I mean, like this one, right? In the original packaging, never been opened or anything. These should not be hard to auction off. And have like 12 of them left after the crumb snatchers took the ones they wanted. You have like 12 of them. And I don't know. But I'll figure it out. Especially, especially now, because the import tariffs on them, because especially now, the import tariffs on them have driven them almost out of business. Start off with a thirst trap and switch up. Oh, you want to pimp me? Oh, my chief of security's idea is to pimp me out, huh? Okay, give them names and stories, make them real to people. Yeah, yeah, I'll be calling you name. So before I get before I get too out there, you know how I get when we talking, and we won't be into we still watching on Katrina. So let's get to episode 4. Make sure. Fine. Episode 4 of what happened on August 29th, 2005. Like I said, this is the 20th year anniversary month. A lot of y'all know I was in the area, both in Mississippi and Louisiana and New Orleans during this time, and about damn time. So, all right, let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah, remember that. Remember that.
In order to destroy a people, you got to take away their humanity.
It was not all the storm. They didn't care whatsoever about getting us out of here because it should never have taken that long. But they were more worried about something else.
I hate to say it, can't protect our property. And I don't understand why they're not being even harder.
When law enforcement is present, order is expected. Without it, terror and mayhem can ensue.
I need reinforcements. I need troops, man.
Thousands of newly arrived guardsmen have been ordered to take the city back from armed looters.
They said that New Orleans was out of control, ruled by thugs. When they came down there, all they found is some hard-working, God-fearing people that just happened to be poor.
Is martial law in effect there? I don't know why that isn't in effect.
Well, martial law is something that's
shoot
declared
looters
by
on
the United
sight.
States Congress. Well, the martial law comes from the United States Congress. It is a complicated process.
Would you request martial law?
I've already called for martial law in the city of New Orleans.
The breaking news of this hour, the mayor of New Orleans redeploying 1,500 city police tonight, he says, taking them off the search for survivors, putting them instead on the search for looters.
I was in the Hyatt Hotel along with the rest of the executive staff of the mayor. It was at that point that Police Chief Compass came into the room where the mayor and I were. He said, "I've got a problem." So the room cleared out, and the police chief said, "Last night one of our officers was just shot in the head.
New Orleans police officer Kevin Thomas stopped 4 suspicious men at this Chevron in the city's West Bank. 3 cooperated, but when he went to frisk the 4th, a bullet from a .45 ripped through his head. This savage attack that almost took his life.
You had situations where people were actually shooting at the police, whether in the case of Kevin Thomas, where he actually got shot in the head.
Chief Compass knew the officer, and he became very emotional. That's when the mayor responded to the police chief and said, "You do whatever you need to do to get this back under control."
Tonight, in a rare move, practically unheard of in the United States, martial law declared.
I told my officers, the rules of engagement are still in effect. We are not shooting looters. I am not condoning the use of deadly force, except if your life is in danger. I was adamant about that.
Military police coming in!
But I was one man in one place. This was a citywide disaster, you know, and I couldn't be in the minds of 1,300 policemen.
I still say today, we didn't have a crime problem during Katrina. We had an evacuation problem. We had a command and control issue. We had logistic issues. We had transportation issues to get people out as quick as we could, but it wasn't a crime problem. But boy, we got a lot of troops and police on the street. We're ready. Nobody's gonna loot this town when you got all these old people in the building over here fucking dying. Hello.
There were still an awful lot of problems on the ground. There were still perhaps thousands of people who were trapped in flooded homes. Rescue workers have to get out and they have to get to them and bring them back because by this point, they've got to be running out of food and water.
Good morning. Critical hours ahead in New Orleans. Rescue teams getting back to work in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. They're trying to save people trapped in their homes since the storm hit.
It was all about life-saving. That's it. To know that you are actually the exact right person for the job and that you have the perfect training for it, it means it's go time. But we started to hear that civilians were shooting at the helicopters. So we were in the middle of hoisting a bunch of people, and we only had like 6 people in the helicopter, and they just dropped the bare hook without a rescue device, so I knew that was just for me. So I clipped in and went up, and then they just shut the door. And I was like, what's going on? Like we had basically an empty plane, and they're like, a helicopter crashed. And I was like, oh my God. The story was that there was a SWAT police van that had been taken over by civilians and that they were shooting at the helicopters. They stopped all rescue operations and everybody had to land at the Coast Guard Air Station.
I got a call from the White House and said the boss wanted to know, are there snipers in New Orleans? Because if there are, he would airdrop the 82nd Airborne in. I said, there's no snipers in New Orleans. What people are doing is they're shooting to try to get attention. He said, okay, but if they prove to be there, we're going to send federal troops and federalize the entire operation. That would have been a big deal. That would have put a large contingent of federal troops in charge of enforcing the law against the people of New Orleans. We did not need that. There wasn't an uprising that needed to be suppressed. There were people who needed to be helped. And the active force needed to handle the humanitarian side of the disaster.
And the only reason they didn't federalize federal troops was because of that man right there. He told him he wouldn't be a part of it. Until.
So now we were back at the Coast Guard Air Station and we were like, oh my God, who is it that crashed? And then found out it was us. My helicopter in particular, they thought had crashed or got shot at because nobody had heard from us for hours. But once we realized that we were the so-called missing party, then word got back to, the powers that be. But it took them a while. Basically, our whole fleet And not just us, it was, other branches and stuff were grounded for that time period when they thought a helicopter had crashed. And I had the radio on, and I was just listening to everything going on, and I was just like, oh my God, we're not going to get them all.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? You only want to save people, and you're being told that the helicopter you were in crashed when you get back. It's amazing, and you know how corrective measures take longer than the misinformation that occurred. So this was paralyzed. No, people were listening. People outside of New Orleans were listening to news reports that didn't have their facts straight, and the president called and all this because of a news report, not because they had talked to anybody on the ground, but because of news reports. And I'm not saying, and don't get me wrong, I'm in no way saying that the media was trying to not save people in New Orleans. It's just what happens when you believe the worst. And it wasn't just the news reporters believing the worst. It was the people telling them this that believed the worst. Because you couldn't wrap your mind around the idea that this many black people, brown people, the ones who were left in New Orleans, didn't fit your narrative. Like I said, you were let this sink in. You're fighting to protect property that is not going to be salvageable after the storm. You're fighting to protect. I was just amazed that they were literally forcing, and some of these, I'm gonna tell you, a lot of these police officers, National Guard, they were confused. They didn't know what to do. Some like police officers, they weren't guarding the grocery stores. They refused. See, there's a lot of behind the scenes. They weren't guarding the grocery store. Matter of fact, some of them would go in the grocery store and take what they need too, because they were in the same situation. And it's just like when I talk about what's going on in Gaza and um, Congo and Sudan, about how the aid workers are suffering. These people were suffering because their families were still there. They were staying in shelters. Also, they weren't staying at their homes, and you want them out there. And to tell these people, these are rescuers. Like now, here, she's a rescuer. She's only thinking about how do I get back out there and start rescuing people. And I think somebody said it in the comment section, right, about how many people were lost because this is day two. Um, this is like 30th, 31st. This is the 31st, and all of this is happening. All these news reports. I didn't know a lot of these news reports were happening at the time until we went back to Mississippi, and I was like, that's not what's going on there. We just left there a couple of hours ago. That didn't happen, but that was all over the news.
Yeah. It's like, we're not going to get them all. So we were chomping at the bit because I felt like we were wasting time. So what I found actually insulting was the stuff about how there wasn't enough done because of race, when that was the opposite for us. But I know that's not true for everybody.
My personal experience was that there were helicopters out there, but they were flying more going towards the Lakeview area. Lakeview is an affluent area with very nice houses, people of higher income. And when you are in the water, in harm's way, and a helicopter is just passing over you, constantly going, and you know where, that wasn't fair. That's why I worked on fishing boats, trying to get people out of attics, out of harm's way.
So the storm hit Sunday and this was Thursday. And we felt as if
March, most of everybody was getting their information about what unfolded in New Orleans between the 29th of August and the 5th to 6th of September from the media. They were not getting it from the people. So they were believing what they were told because there were no counter fact, because the people who could give countermeasures, we didn't have social media like we could get on TikTok and just say, hey, this live from New Orleans, this is what's happening right now. And Facebook even, because it was down. There was no electricity. There was no way to get this out except the media. So no, it's not marching or anything was going on, and we didn't need marching. We needed people to contact their congressman and tell them that, hey, that's not what's happening. But we couldn't get the message out. So this is self-contained, and it's a failure of a system that has implicit biases built into it on how you think that you have a system, and I talked about it the other night. When you married democracy to capitalism, you had more people asking for looters to be shot. And these were not looters. These were people simply trying to get food and clothes that were not being provided for them any other way in a supermarket that was full of food or a mall that was full of clothing. And nobody, like say, what were you? And when I hear people talk about people were looting and stealing televisions and taking them where? You think people had a choice? They feel like, we got this 57-inch screen TV, or we can get some food. What did you think they were doing? It doesn't even make any sense. The illogical portion of my brain was like, why are you all thinking this? That was the portion. Why are you all even thinking that people are taking televisions to the Superdome or to the convention center? If you wanted, it just didn't make sense. It did. Especially water. You wading through water with a stolen television like it's going to work afterwards.
The help was coming, but we were having a hard time understanding why it wasn't there yet. We did not know that help was being stopped. We still had a lot of people on rooftops needing to be rescued. But we knew there would be people who said, I've got a boat, I'm getting out on the water, and I'm saving whoever I can. And that's all we had for quite a while.
Every day we followed the same path with the boat, and every house had water up to the roof.
Where were we taking televisions?
Every house.
Where?
You had people who were trapped in the attic, but the intense heat of the day was overwhelming.
Back up, homeboy. Back up. Back up. We got him. I hear somebody else. Yo!
You see, there's a difference in...
And really good, real quick, because I remember they were talking about people were on boats going into flooded neighborhoods, looting houses. That was a narrative of, oh, the thugs are on taking boats and looting people's property out there, underwater homes. Are you for real? And people believe this. That's the thing. People believe this. Like you see this. This is it. It's like, oh, and that's when they tried to institute that people couldn't go out at night in New Orleans. And I'm like, you mean because we might be looting underwater homes? Like we got scuba gear or we Aquaman? We Atlanteans. The Atlanteans came into New Orleans to loot underwater homes. That's what.
Cry for help and a wailing. I've heard both. And you realize that help really isn't on the way.
I got you, madam, right here. Just hold on. You're gonna be all right.
I saw Eric doing his thing, and he saw me. And as I was passing, I was like, oh, look, that's Eric. And Eric looked, oh, look, that's John. I was like, hey, buddy, I can't turn around and chit-chat with you. I got to go. But nah, it was good to see. I couldn't see him doing anything different, though.
John Kell, I can't say enough about that brother. He could do it all.
Bad flood, all that, huh?
I lived in American Cannon Apartments. It used to be a cannery.
So after the hurricane hit and the flooding, we went door to door. So many people rolled to the door in their wheelchairs. And when I closed the door, I looked at my cousin Chris. I said, man, these people are in trouble. We don't have any elevators. These people are gonna die in their apartments. I said, we got to get them out of here.
Step out on the top, rooftop American Can apartment.
I had 170 people in the building. People were still coming to the building.
Say hello.
So they went to the roof. So I went and I got the fire extinguishers. You know, the ones with the powder inside of them. And I sprayed out DRP, MREs, H2O. That was acronyms that we use in the military, so it's just a little quicker.
We need water and food.
The helicopter would fly over us and read the little thing and fly up to like, oh, they come and get us. But then they flew over me for a couple of days reading my sign on the roof and they wasn't trying to do anything. But I saw them rescue all the white people at the building behind the American camp. I said, man, hopefully I'm not right, but let's get all the black people off the roof. All the white people in the wheelchairs on the top of the roof. I said, I hope I'm not right. 15 minutes later, gave me what I need. 15 minutes. I say, man, I got 60 elderly right now. If we don't get them out of here, it's gonna be a morgue in here. So they lifted off the roof. The people who were able to walk around or whatever, I shuttled them to the bayou where the helicopters were picking people up. I didn't do it by myself. I had 12 people that helped me get all this together. But I didn't know I was gonna have to like organize this rescue and make it happen. But I wound up evacuating and helping 244 people get rescued out the American camp. But when you're in America, and it's supposed to be the greatest country on the planet, and I'm watching how they treating their citizens and how they're not worrying about their citizens, like they're like second-class citizens, man, it was appalling. After all the stuff I did for this country, and for them not to give you food and water because you're black on the roof, man, that's a hard pill to swallow.
People still inside the Superdome, and the situation there is getting
23,000 according to the federal
23,000.
Even as officials work to clear the Superdome and pick up survivors from the interstates, there are new problems.
The real hell on earth in New Orleans this morning was here at the convention center, one of the official evacuation sites.
But there are no buses here, and there's no sign they're coming soon.
State and local officials are pointing the finger at Washington and vice versa.
I just want to know why. Okay, let me straighten something. The convention center was not an official site. We got into the convention center because we broke in. The convention center was not an original site for refugees or for evacuation. The convention center was locked. It was locked. They were shuffling everybody to the Superdome. The convention center became the site after it was broken into.
How they don't bring me buses on and take these people out of here.
New Orleans mayor issued an urgent SOS on Thursday for storm victims trapped at the convention center. Supplies there are running out.
We go baby out here. They don't have no formula, no water, and they want us to survive out here. Where's FEMA? Where's the mayor?
Somehow the state government hadn't exposed the fact that when the focus was on the Superdome, we had an equal number of people at the convention center that were standing outside.
We first learned of the convention center, we being the federal government, today.
I've heard you say during the course of this evening on a number of interviews, you just found out about it today. Don't you guys watch television? Don't you guys listen to the radio?
How is it possible that we're getting better intel than you're getting? We had a crew in the air. We were showing live pictures of the people outside the convention center.
We're feeding those people in the convention center.
But it begs the question, why are you discovering this now? It's 5 days that FEMA's been on the ground. The head of police says it's been 5 days that FEMA's been there.
I believe a lot of people outside of the city probably combined the convention center and the Superdome into one building, just not knowing. Those two
Listen, I hear that, Ray. Look, this is not like the St. Louis Convention Center and Superdome. This is the Superdome is over here. The convention center is over here. It's not even the Mercedes-Benz Convention Center at that time, right? And I know they're trying to make excuses, but didn't care. The Mike, I told you, I have a inane disdain for Mike Brown because he's sitting there in Baton Rouge going out to eat while people are, he say, yeah, well, we fed people in the convention. No, you didn't. We stole food. Yeah. Those are the ones you were talking about, the riders. 'Cause you see around the convention center, if you go back to this way, you see there's shops over here. There are grocery stores over here, right? Those are ones you were trying to protect and shoot people over. It wasn't. I, I,
firms together, people outside of the city saw that as one place.
You know, with all due respect, the people in the convention center are being fed. The people on the bridges are
With all due respect, sir, the people in the convention center are not being fed.
This is
the people in the Superdome.
This is it. This is when the news media started to realize they had been propagating. Like I say, this is when they started. When I was looking at Ted Compo and I was realizing he's like, now you all get it because now you have left where you were and you're going out into the city. Took 5 days. It took 5 days to get to this point. And then now they mad. They mad because they've been fed information by this piece of shit about what was going on, and they're finding out because if you remember, in 5 days, we started to get to Houston, and people were talking, and people were telling people, "Oh, that's not what's going." They were seeing the news. I mean, like, what city are you all talking about? They had another disaster at another New Orleans and another, state of Louisiana, because that's not what's happening. And then you started to get people giving interviews in Houston. Now the media is like now they're sending people to the locations to check these stories because they still were not. They were like, these people can't. They were getting there and they will realize who in the fuck thought the convention center and the Superdome were the same place? Who? Who?
I'm sorry, you're absolutely correct. We're getting the supplies to the convention center now.
We found out much later that as we were telling people in the federal government that in the Superdome they have food and they have water, at the same time in the convention center there was no food, there was no water.
We're finding food wherever we can. I just finished serving the old folks as best I could for what we had.
I hadn't ate in like 3 days.
Is that what thugs do? That's what thugs do, right? We didn't take the food for ourselves first. That's what thugs do. That's what you all been led to believe. Just like they got you all believing that the man in Tennessee that was on the run after killing 4 people somehow had ties to vice lords. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around what this white man with mental health issues, how did he have ties to vice lords? But I digress. Whole nother conversation. But this is what people did. This is what the young people did. When y'all talk about young people to me, I don't hear you all because I know that young people and these so-called thugs were doing this. Like he said, he was going without to make sure that the food that we got there was being distributed. Some of us were trying to avoid the police. So
You know, we all out there, the whole day done passed by, all the hot sun. We out there in the hot sun all day, the sun beaming.
This is a federal disaster, not a local one.
First, let me tell you, there have been deliveries of food, water, and medical supplies to the Superdome, and that's happened almost from the very beginning.
But this is the convention center.
I have not heard a report of thousands of people in the convention center who don't have food and water.
literally, listen, he said, I have not heard. Honore was telling them this. That's another lie. We know they lie. Honore was telling them. General Honore was telling we need MRIs. We need more food. We need this. And they're saying nobody told us that there were people in the convention center.
No food, no water. People in here are dying from not eating. I can't stand it here anymore. I can't stand it. I don't ever want to go back here anymore.
When the police chief was telling me at the convention center, hey, we got all these thugs down there. What are you talking about? They say, oh, they're wrestling, they're fighting with my cops down there. We need more troops in here to help control them. We need more police. So I went down there and they were just like the people at the Superdome, waiting for somebody to tell them how they were going to evacuate.
These people haven't seen security here at the convention center for 4 days. The fear was that they would turn violent, that they would attack supplies and buses. And look at them. They're sitting peacefully. They're just waiting for a ride that's taken too long to come.
I call that the patience of the poor. I grew up that way. You learn to wait.
Listen.
When you're poor in America, you're not free. And when you're poor, you learn to have patience. You lose choices when you're poor. Yeah, you don't pick where your kids go to school, you don't pick where you live, and you don't pick where you go to the doctor, if you can get to see one.
So many of these people, almost all of them that we see, are so poor and they are so black, and this is going to raise lots of questions for people who are watching this story unfold.
We didn't have no protection out there, you know, but for some reason, everybody was kind of calm because of the crisis, you know. They knew what was going on. They knew right now, this the time for survival. One thing about the poor people from New Orleans, we knew how to survive. If anything else, we knew how to survive. We knew how to eat. We knew how to, you know, we knew how to get food. We knew how to work. But we can't survive in water, and we cannot survive in water that's over our head. You know what I mean? We, you know, y'all got us with that.
Over 4,000 National Guard troops were operating in New Orleans today. More arrived in armored vehicles. Another 12,000 have been ordered to the region.
In simplest of terms, exaggerating conditions on the ground just makes things worse.
We believe that we need to free up the National Guard, essentially to do security in the city.
I think probably the mission that came through the loudest was it's really messed up down there and you need to go help fix it. And that's probably not the right mindset of people who should arrive here should have.
After we got to the Superdome, we were greeted by the National Guard. And the National Guard wanted to search my daughter, my niece. They wanted to go inside their bras and their underwear and search this 2-year-old baby and go inside of her pamper to see if we had any weapons to go inside the Superdome, and then told me I couldn't bring my dog. So I walked down to the Hyatt, and the clerk at the desk, I was like, here's my credit card. Can we just get a room? Just one room. She said, no, ma'am. The computers are down. We're on auxiliary electricity, but you can stay. And they said, anyone with pets, y'all have to go to like the 3rd floor, I think it was, to the ballroom in the 3rd floor. I just had surgery and I had forgotten my medicine. So by now it's like hours since I've taken a pain pill or anything, and I'm in severe pain. I'm trying not to show it. I'm trying to be strong for them, but I'm sweating and I'm shaking and I'm cold and I'm hurting. And my daughter and my niece left the hotel and went to, I think they said they went to Walgreens or something. And so they came back with like this big Santa Claus bag full of shampoos and Tylenol, and they were all excited and they got this bag. Mom, we got you some medicine, Mom. You gonna be okay, Mom? We went looting. I was like, oh my God. You guys could have been killed. Y'all could have been shot. Then they boarded up the hotel and they weren't letting anybody else in. And they were, telling us that we had to act accordingly. And this guy was knocking on the door and he kept saying, let me in, let me in. I was already in there. Let me in. And the National Guard saying, sir, do not advance. We can't let you in here. Sir, do not advance. So we had all of this, and I'm like scared to death half of the time. We got the military walking around pointing guns, making folks go to sleep, lay down, move here, move there. Hurry up, hurry up. I said, move now, pointing guns at you. And you're like, okay. It was a lot. It was a lot. And it kept you so defensive that your body ached from, just wondering what next? What next? I know something else is going to happen. What next?
Governor Blanco talked to some of her guys in the National Guard, and she went out and did a press conference and said,
Hold up for just a minute, you all. GCPR, appreciate you. I'm gonna turn it over to DJ. I will see you all tomorrow night. Same. We'll wrap up tomorrow. Well, no, we'll play the other, and then we'll do a wrap up show on Thursday. See you all, GCPR. Right. That, yeah, cancel, cancel the other one too before we get in trouble over there. If you all would like to continue watching, come over to TikTok. If not,